Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central to talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We've received actually a number of different grants, all based around building financial literacy and increasing access to capital. In the background of my page, you see our website, 509pacific.org. If you've not been on the page, I encourage you to visit, and you will find our contact information at the bottom. Now, today's topic is specifically on QuickCash. We want to make sure that everyone understands how that grant program works, make sure that there's no confusion, and we'll take a deep dive into that in just a moment. However, what we do like to do first on each daily session is for any of you who've decided to become a grant coordinator, we also call that a reseller, and also on 509pacific.org, you'll see that towards the middle of the page. So I want to make sure that all of you who are desiring to be a grant coordinator slash reseller, that you're open for business. So that's our first topic here. So if you're not one but want to become one, there's no cost, no contract to sign, 509pacific.org. Fill this out and we'll send you the implementation packet right afterwards. If you have any questions, let us know. But does anyone need any assistance getting open for business? And you would respond by typing into the Q&A. Okay, I think we're good there. So let's go ahead and get into our topic today, QuickCash. So QuickCash is a very unusual financial instrument. It's good, it's real, it's legal, but it's different. It's different. And it actually comes as a grant. So often people will come to us and say, well, I need money to start or grow a business, they'll say, and that's great. So then we have to decide, where's that money going to come from? Are you wanting to get business loans or business financing? That's fine. We have a grant to help with that. Not our topic today. Secondly, are you looking for equity-based injection, investors, money that comes into your business that doesn't have to be repaid, but then you're typically sharing ownership and control of the business. So that's a second option. The third option, which so often is asked about, is grants. Where can I get grants? And so the grant we're going to talk about today is QuickCash. So with QuickCash, we literally provide $10,000 through the grant. Now, when I say grant, that means you don't have to pay for the $10,000 and you don't have to pay it back. It's not a loan, because otherwise it'd be a loan, it'd be in that first category. But again, we want to make sure we understand how it works. So we're going to talk about QuickCash today, which is a $10,000 grant here. And I can see already Nadeem has a question. And his question is, what if he needs more than 10,000? So the answer, Nadeem, is it's actually okay to enroll multiple times if you need more than 10,000. So, but we'll dig deeper, Nadeem. Give me a moment to get into it. So what is it? Well, let's first by talking about what it's not. So there are no minimum credit scores, no minimum time in business. And frankly, there's no requirement to already have a business. So when we applied for the grant, we needed a financing vehicle, a grant allocation that kind of was a safety net. It helped all those individuals that otherwise might not have been able to access capital because either they haven't managed their credit well, or their business is new and hasn't proven itself to be successful, and or maybe they don't even have a business yet. So what it is, it's a $10,000 asset transfer. So let's go ahead and write that on here. So you'll notice I like to keep the notes on the screen as we're discussing. And again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, just type it into the Q&A. So the $10,000 is an asset transfer. So what does that mean? So we're going to literally, normally within 24 hours, we'll do the best we can. Within 24 hours, we're going to transfer $10,000 to the participant. Comes at no cost through the grant. What's being transferred is actually accounts receivables. And if you didn't take accounting in college or in high school, I used to teach accounting in high school, but if you're not familiar, so AR means accounts receivables. Well, why is that valuable? And I guess we'll skip down here for a moment. So QuickCash provides immediate collateral for a loan. So I know we're jumping around a bit, but as far as what it is, it's a $10,000 transfer of accounts receivables. They're real. They're not make believe. So they actually go onto the business's balance sheet and it provides collateral. So that's the first reason that it's so valuable. But then secondly, we can liquidate the AR to turn into cash. So what is accounts receivables? And this is the example I normally give, so forgive me if you heard it before, but let's say that you and I, we want to start a small business and we're teenagers and we decide to go buy a push mower and we're going to go mow yards. So that's going to be our side business while we're in high school. So we buy the push mower and Miss Betty agrees for us to mow her yard for 20 bucks. So we go over after school today and we mow Miss Betty's yard. She's gone. She's gone to church. She's gone to Sunday Bible school. So she owes us $20. That's an example of accounts receivable. We have an agreement with the client, Miss Betty, perform the services. She owes us, but she hasn't paid us yet. So that's what a lot of us think of as AR, is when our business goes out and conducts the business and is owed directly the money. We'll call that organic AR. But the truth is, there's a huge market called debt buying and debt selling. There's publicly traded companies that do this, where instead of you and I going and mowing Miss Betty's yard, we could send France over to mow the yard. France does the work, and then we buy the invoice, the AR from France. So now Miss Betty owes us, even though we didn't actually cut her yard. And you see this often with mortgages, right? Where the mortgages get transferred to another party. So what is it? So there's no minimum credit scores, no minimum time in business, no requirement to already have a business. We're transferring the $10,000 of AR, which is real, it's legitimate. It meets what's called GAAP, generally agreed upon accounting principles, those of you that have had accounting. So it's legitimate. It provides an immediate benefit to the financials. So now we have collateral for a loan, because most business lenders want collateral. And then also then we can liquidate that and turn that into cash. But also there's another option that some of you may not be aware of. You can also flip it. And we'll put that in quotes. So let's say that, let's take Charles, who's on. Let's say Charles owns a piece of property, piece of real estate. He could hold it or he could flip it. Well, frankly, you can do that with any asset. Let's say Charles has a 1979 Porsche 911. He could hold on to that Porsche or he could flip it. He could sell it. Same with the AR. So one of the options that some people are overlooking is it's a real asset. So it does count as collateral right away. We can liquidate it to turn it into cash, which we're going to talk more about in a moment. But also we can just turn around and flip it. And there are resources and even websites that kind of marry up debt buyers and debt sellers. I think if we step back and identify, what do most of us want to do? We want to build wealth, right? Throughout our lifetime, probably up to retirement, we want to build our wealth. How do you build wealth? Well, you could buy stocks and hope they appreciate. You could buy real estate. You could buy, I guess, antique coins, bitcoins, whatever. But normally you buy an asset that grows in value. Well, this is one of the most lucrative types of financial classes because we're literally giving it away. the client does not have to pay anything for the QuickCash, and it's transferred to them. They have full rights and ownership, and then it can be used for collateral. We can liquidate it, which I'm going to talk more about, or they could even flip it, sell it. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and go into the liquidate more, because that's important to understand. So let's define liquidation. So when we're defining liquidation, that means collecting the money from the debtor that is owed to the creditor. So let's say, I'm not trying to sell you anything, but let's just say that you bought QuickCash. You came over here to QuickCash and you enrolled. So now you're the creditor. You're the one that's owed the money. You don't owe someone else. Someone else owes you. You're buying AR. Well, you're not buying, you're getting it free through a grant, but you're getting the AR, and now there's a debtor that owes you. Just like Miss Betty owed you and I for mowing her yard, you're owed the money. Miss Betty is the debtor, or in this case, whoever is the debtor. So we want to collect it. Now, the way that we're set up, we're licensed, bonded, and insured as a debt collector. So what we know is that most small business owners, most people don't want to be debt collectors, right? It's not a real pleasant job. So we take care of that. We handle the liquidation for them. We're paid based upon the results, based upon collecting the 10,000 for the creditor. But we actually add our cost on top. So let's go through a scenario. So we'll use Michael B this time. So Michael B comes and he purchases QuickCash, but again, he didn't purchase, he enrolls in QuickCash. He gets 10,000 for free. It's not, doesn't have to be repaid. It's not a loan. It's through a grant. So then he wants us to liquidate it, which we're happy to do. And so when we go after the debtor on Michael's behalf, Michael kind of stays out of the scenes. Now, Michael's former law enforcement, so he wouldn't really care. But in general, the creditor wants to stay out of the public eye. So we play the role of the bad guy collecting the money legally and ethically. And we're going to talk about how we do that more in just a moment. But my point specifically is, instead of going after the debtor for 10,000, we increase that amount so our collection costs are on top of it. So Michael B still gets his 10,000. So it's great. So we're not really working for free to do the debt collection, but you, or the creditor, doesn't have to pay us. The debtor actually pays us. Now, how do we go about getting the liquidation? So we start by invoicing the debtor to let them know that they owe it, sending them demand letters, and then we have to follow the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act. So everything we do has to be legal and ethical, of course. And so with that, we need to start showing the debtor that there's consequences of not paying, because I'm sure all of you have always paid your bills on time. But that's not the way everyone is. Some people don't pay their bills on time. So when someone doesn't pay their bill on time, usually what motivates them to pay is the threat, legal, ethical threat of some consequence. Oh, it's going to report on your credit. Oh, we're going to sue you and get you for breach of contract. So it's those consequences, that legal and ethical consequences, that normally motivates a debtor to pay the creditor. So we do threaten with, and when I say threaten, I don't mean that negatively. It's just it's legal. There's actually a whole concept called creditors' rights, and I'm actually going to a seminar next Thursday and Friday with a big group of attorneys on creditors' rights. So creditors' rights means whoever owns the AR is owed the money by the debtor, and they shouldn't be taken advantage of. But so we will threaten with language to sue if debtor doesn't pay. Now, we can only make that threat if we actually plan to follow through with it. Otherwise, it's considered harassment and we can get in trouble under the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act. So there is a processing fee that is paid with each QuickCash portfolio. It's not a cost for the 10,000, it's a grant, comes free, but that processing fee covers the cost for the litigation. And again, we add that on top of what the debtor owes, so the creditor gets that back. So if you go to QuickCash, you don't have to pay 10,000, don't have to pay any of that. It's 100% free. All that's being paid is the processing fee that covers our litigation costs, which we have to have on hand. If we don't have that on hand, then we can't make that threat. So let's go back up. We missed a step or two. So who is QuickCash for? It is great for people who want capital, in other words, money, but doesn't want to take out loans because it's a grant, so it doesn't have to be paid back. So a lot of people come to us and they want lots of debt, lots and lots of debt. They'll say, give me as much debt as you can give me. Give me $1 million of debt. Give me $5 million of debt. They want massive payments every month. Hey, if that's what you want, great. That's normal business financing. But some people don't want to have all those debt payments. And so that's where we can tap into grants. And this is an example of a grant. Now, also, it's great for people who do not qualify for loans. So we sometimes have people that come to us and frankly, they would rather go get a $1 million SBA or non-SBA loan, but they don't qualify. So we either need to help them qualify legally and ethically, or we can pivot over and use grant money instead. All right, so with that being said, let's recap and then we'll go into any questions, comments, concerns you have. So with QuickCash, it's on 509pacific.org. You come over here and you click on the click here. It'll bring up a new tab and we'll see it in a second, and gives you more information, and it matches all these things that we're talking about. It describes the process and who we help, and it's not a loan, doesn't have to be paid back. So all of that matches exactly what we just said. Let's just go ahead and dig into questions, comments, concerns. All right, so Rod seems to be, and Rod, how does your volume look this week? Rod, you've been telling me about big volume. Rod's one of our resellers. How many deals are you going to have this week, Rod, by the way? But Rod's asking about, I guess, the use of funds. And so you're right, Rod, and anyone that's, if you're thinking, well, what can I use this 10,000 for? You can use it for whatever you want. It's unrestricted. So I guess we'll go ahead and add that. So it is not restricted funds. So in other words, can be used for anything. Now, some people come to us and they want to buy a shelf corp, and if they don't have the money and they don't have the credit worthiness, then they use QuickCash. But the bottom line is it can be used for anything. Okay, so Rod, there's an answer to your question. And so again, we're performing the role of the licensed, bonded, and insured debt collector. This is not about getting people to come be debt collectors. That's not what most entrepreneurs want. So we fill that role. They're not responsible for doing that. So like, for instance, if we're going to sue the debtor, the creditor, the owner, the person that's owed doesn't have to be involved with that. All right, so I see Martin's asking about the more advanced forms of liquidation, and that's correct. So we had a hypothesis that if the debtors, just use the correct terms, if a debtor doesn't pay a creditor, could we file police charges against the debtor for theft? So just a couple days ago on Saturday, I spent 3 hours with a prosecuting attorney working through this model. And he is helping us build a model whereby we can actually not only sue the debtor on behalf of the creditor, but we can also file a police report for theft and attempt to have the debtor put in jail for theft if they don't pay the creditor. So let me tell you a little bit about prosecuting attorneys. So prosecuting attorneys normally will, of course, they go to law school and then they pass the bar exam. And then usually when they first become a prosecuting attorney, they'll work on misdemeanor cases, smaller cases, DUIs and divorces and such. And then normally then they'll move up to felonies. And so the prosecuting attorney that we spent 3 hours with on Saturday, and he's actually coming over to my house this coming Saturday, and we're going to work more on it. And then I'll be at that conference next Thursday and Friday. So we're kind of fine tuning how to go about actually pursuing criminal charges against the debtors. Now, we have successfully done this already one time as we've been kind of fine tuning it. We have a gentleman out of Hope, Arkansas, home of Bill Clinton, which is unrelated, but we were able to get him arrested. They threatened to arrest his wife as a co-conspirator, but she agreed to cooperate with authorities, and he did go to jail. How long someone goes to jail depends. When I was talking to the prosecuting attorney on Saturday, he said that sometimes he'll just put them on probation. Sometimes he'll put them straight into jail. And then sometimes there's a hybrid where he'll have them report to jail Friday evenings, and then they'll be released Sunday evenings to go back to work. So they just go to jail every weekend. So there's different ways that that criminal prosecution can happen. And of course, we don't control that, but it's a very powerful way to motivate the debtors to pay the creditors when circumstances warrant. All right, so let's see here. Jennifer made a comment, but I'm not sure what Jennifer's saying. Yeah, so anyone that has enrolled in QuickCash, like I had a conversation with a client this morning about QuickCash, and we delivered that 10,000 within 24 hours, but she frankly overlooked it. So it's real, it happens. If you don't see it, let us know. You've got our contact information, and we can resend it to you. But yeah, we'll get your bank account, and the money is sent to your bank account, of course. Natasha asks, how does the AR show up for the client? Yeah, so it's an asset, which we said right here. So it's an asset that goes on either the balance sheet of the business or the PFS, the personal financial statement of the owner. But that's just accounting 101. So if you're not familiar with accounting, maybe this is too much too soon. All right. Let's see here. Rod says he's got 15 deals. Rod, you're going to close 15 deals this week. Is that correct? That's a strong week. Okay, let's see. We've discussed, I think, the liquidation. Chevy's asking about shelf corps. Yeah, so that's a little bit of a different topic, and I don't want to mix too much, but we have a YouTube channel, Chevy, and it has our other trainings, our past trainings. So if you want to learn more about shelf corps rather than kind of dilute today's discussion, I would encourage you to go to our YouTube channel. But shelf corps, in essence, are through a different grant, and that's where we're providing free shelf corps to entrepreneurs that need a fundable business to be able to qualify for business funding. So that's different than QuickCash. But you can learn more about it by either joining us on future morning sessions or going back and looking at some of the past trainings. Thank you for that. All right, let's see. I think we covered most of the questions, so let's summarize one more time, and we've got just about 5 more minutes if anyone has any new questions we've not covered. So if someone's looking for money, especially to start or grow a business, there's really three options. Debt, which could be credit cards, lines of credit, term loans, SBA or otherwise. So we could go borrow money, and that's one option. Another option is equity injection. So yourself or someone else puts money in the business. Doesn't have to be paid back like a debt, but usually it's a sharing of future profits. Or the third category is grants. Grants do not have to be paid back. QuickCash is a grant. We are providing the 10,000, and you'll see it if you come over here to 509pacific.org, click here, it'll bring up this screen. You'll see that it does not have to be paid back. It's not a loan. So it's great. But it's an intermediate step, right? Because what are we doing? We're going to need to transfer the AR, which we'll do within 24 hours. We said that here, and it's here, so it's consistent. It says even here, but then we have to turn around and liquidate it, or we can flip it. And again, there's websites where we can flip it. Kenneth brings up a good point, and it's true. There are publicly traded companies that do this on $1 million basis, like Encore Capital out of California. They're publicly traded, and this is essentially their business model, but they do it in real large portfolios. So what we've done is we've taken their model, in essence, and broken it down into small chunks so we can work with just normal Main Street entrepreneurs. We applied for the grant, received the grant, so now we give it away. So is there any cost? Lawrence asked. Well, yeah, we have to be able to make the legal threats to show consequence to get the people to pay. So there's going to be the court cost. So that's the only cost for us to transfer this, because if we don't collect the court cost from the QuickCash participant, then we can't legally make this threat, and the chances that they're going to pay, the debtor is going to pay, is much less. All right, so any other questions? I'm scrolling here and there's a bunch of redundant questions. So Martin's right, yeah. So the 10,000 is a literal grant. Does not have to be paid back, and you don't have to pay for it. The only cost is going to be the court cost, which we have to collect. Otherwise, we can't make this threat. And if we can't make this threat, then we're not going to, or I guess these threats, then we're probably not going to be able to collect the money. Corinthian asks, how quick? Well, that's a great point. So once the QuickCash is transferred, there's a bill of sale, and you'll see it in the document pack. So again, if you go to 509 Pacific, everything's very transparent. 509 Pacific, click here, brings up this. This packet has the bill of sale. So that's the transference of ownership. Just like if you bought a piece of real estate or you bought an automobile, you couldn't just have a handshake deal. It needs to be documented. So we do a bill of sale transfer, and then we can immediately begin that liquidation. And so, if you owed money and it was a legitimate debt, I bet you would pay it right away, because that's what honorable people do. That's why you have a really high credit score. That's why I have a really high credit score, because we pay our bills. So a lot of people will pay right away once you get it in front of them and show there's consequences. Others, we have to work the process a bit more. Jennifer's asking about the flipping. So going back to the flipping, so one of the options is to get the grant and then just turn around and flip the 10,000 of assets, and that's permitted. It's kind of a loophole, legal loophole. It wasn't what it was designed to do, but you can do that, and we can help you facilitate that. So there's a whole market that is willing to buy AR. We've sold millions of dollars of AR through some of these portals, and so we can help you with that, of course. Willie asked, what's the cost to be an affiliate? Well, we don't really call it an affiliate. We call it a grant coordinator, Willie, but there's no cost, no contract to sign, just 509 Pacific. Fill this out, and we'll send you the implementation packet. All right. Well, if there's any other questions, let us know. You'll see our contact information here at the bottom. So remember, we have two different entities, right? We have the nonprofit, 509 Pacific, 501c3, and the nonprofit has a different phone number, doesn't it? Our collection agency is reached here, 903-200-8781. If you're trying to reach the nonprofit, it's a different number, 903-352-3390. If you are currently one of our grant coordinators slash resellers, best way to get support is to text us, and that's the 903-347-8042. So this number here is answered live. We have a whole team of receptionists, Mondays through Fridays, office hours, that answers this live. So if someone says, oh, I can't reach anyone, that's bullshit. You call during office hours, there's live people. Typically, we'll have 4 receptionists answering phones at the same time. So you'll get a live answer call. Your call will be answered live 99.9% of the time. However, if you're a current reseller grant coordinator, your best bet is to text us. This number is not answered live, usually ever. It's the text line. If you just simply want to schedule a call with us, calendly.com /week funding. As we've covered, if you want to get QuickCash, it is here. If you want to become a reseller grant coordinator, it's also here. And then our training library is up on YouTube. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Let us know if there's anything we can do to assist you. Have a good day. Bye.